Fake it till you make it. Don't let them know you're hurting. Don't let them know you're unsure. Just do it. I turned my back on the greenhouse and crossed the street, mingling with the afternoon crowds going back to work, or maybe just trying to enjoy the day. Our goal was ahead of us, 2 greenhouses down from the stark white trunks. Unlike the Shinrin-yoku greenhouse, this one wasn't open to the public. It was SoCal-owned, like most things in San Angeles were, and its interior was shrouded in soft, opaque windows. The buildings went on forever, 2 rows separated by a parkway with benches and real grass, vibrant under artificial lights. This was one of the hundreds of places where SoCal grew its food for the lower levels. It would end up on grocery store shelves on levels 4 and 5 until it got too old. Then it would be moved to levels 2 and 3. Level 1 got whatever was left after that. At least that's how it used to work. Now it all went straight to level 6 to feed the rich, the privileged. SoCal was one of the big 3 corporations that owned most of the world's resources and production. They'd built San Angeles and controlled almost everything in it. We were here to hijack one of the trucks loaded with fresh produce and get the food to the lower levels where it was so desperately needed, where it belonged. There was a small loading dock on one end of the SoCal greenhouse that could only fit a couple of trucks at a time, yet there never seemed to be a lineup. A new truck showed up seconds after the old one left. Each one had a single driver that helped load it before driving off. They all took the most direct route to the closest up-ramp, waved through security after a cursory inspection. The insurgents had sent a small team to grab a truck last week. They'd failed. By the look of things, their botched attempt had changed the procedure a little. The driver that got out of the vehicle wore a sidearm, and I thought I saw a passenger in the darkened cab. 2 people would make it tougher. The guns, even more so. I grabbed my comm unit and connected with our team leader. "Billy's gonna bring a friend and some toys," I said. "No worries, thanks." The link closed, and I tucked the comm unit away. We had 10 minutes before the truck finished loading. I strolled past the greenhouse, keeping up with everyone else, and pulled the comm unit out of my pocket again. I punched in my access code. The insurgents had guaranteed this corner wasn't monitored, one of the dead spots in the network, and I could change my tracker ID. I made sure there were no drones overhead and cycled the ID. It still seemed strange, knowing I and almost every other person in San Angeles had a tracker embedded in them. They injected us with a vaccine when we were kids. It contained the tracker, which sent out coded signals with every heartbeat. ACE had learned how to cover the technology with their own, making the signals modifiable. Almost no one knew about the trackers. First ACE, the extinct anti-corporate movement, and now the insurgents wanted to keep it a secret. I still didn't understand why. The new ID made me out to be a simple courier. Once I got on my bike, I'd blend in with the background traffic. I laughed at simple courier. It had been a long time, a lifetime since I'd been that. Everything was simpler back then. I recrossed the street and walked between the greenhouses to the parkway. The sight of the burned-out hulk ahead reminded me of Janice when she'd tried to kill me and Pat. My pace slowed for a second before I pushed her from my mind. I didn't have time for that now. One of the others on my recon team passed by me, heading in the opposite direction. He was a young kid, too young to be thrust into something like this. The insurgents didn't seem to have any issues with using kids. They'd proven that when they'd used them to blow up water stations on the upper levels. It took me a while to realize he was probably only a year or 2 younger than I was. We walked by without looking at each other. There were 3 of us for a reason, and if he'd been identified and monitored by SoCal, we didn't want them to learn about anyone else on the team. The fact that I'd been placed on recon still stung. The insurgents knew what I could do, what I had done, and threw me in with the rest of the newbies anyway. They couldn't use my pregnancy as an excuse since they didn't know about it, so I figured it was out of spite for leaving Pat behind when I tried to get Ian. I stopped that line of thought right away. There was no point in going over those events again. I'd done it too often already.